Telegram channel spreading false information on NEET exams. In a first major shake-up in President Trump's inner circle, NSA Mike Waltz and his deputy Alex Wong to exit US administration. Trump tells Musk to stay as long as he wants amid reports of Tesla CEO quitting Doge. Massive wildfires on the outskirts of Jerusalem, Israel. Thousands flee, abandoning vehicles. Netanyahu calls it national security emergency. Strongest winds in more than a decade hit New Zealand's capital, forcing flight cancellations. State of emergency has been declared in parts of New Zealand. People, locals coping. All right, let me start with our top story here on India building momentum as the hunt is on currently for the Pahalgam terrorists. The death of 26 in Pahalgam wasn't just a terror strike, it was a trigger. And it seems like New Delhi has made it quite clear the response will be decisive and it will be unforgiving. Tonight, the National Investigative Agency, even as I speak, are tightening the noose in Pahalgam areas. The NIA Director General himself has reached ground zero in Baisaran Valley, where the bloodbath unfolded just days ago. He spent nearly 3 hours at the site. And in fact, the security forces were seen combing through the terrain, inspecting every entry point. Escape routes were thoroughly checked, tracking the footsteps of those killers. High-level briefing has been, at this point, conducted on multiple levels. CRPF officials, top Jammu and Kashmir police brass, all we here were present for those meets. NIA is now putting together a detailed report for the Home Ministry, and what they've uncovered is quite chilling. In fact, sources confirm the terrorists were in Baisaran Valley as early as April 15th. That's literally a full week before the attack. These are details that we have on the movements of those terrorists before the attack. What's not settling here is that we hear these men scouted multiple locations before actually picking the Pahalgam meadows. They went through Aru Valley, Betab Valley, even a local amusement park. But we hear they wanted to carry out a large-scale attack and therefore they picked Pahalgam meadows. They were looking to inflict the maximum damage. What we also know is that 20 overground workers have been identified, which means some of the locals there who could have been aiding in logistics to terrorists who were involved in this case. 3 satellite phones were in play while the attack happened. The coordination, the planning, it all points to a deeply embedded network, both local and across the border. India's message, of course, is quite clear. As we see, while India steps up its security measures, they've conveyed it quite clearly that this is the last. Now, Pakistan is really testing India's patience. We see, despite India's stern warning, Pakistan continues to provoke. On the night of April 30th and into May 1st, Pakistani army posts resorted to unprovoked small arms fire across Kupwara, Uri and Akhnur. This comes even as India mourns the loss of 26 lives in Pahalgam terror strike. Firing continues from Pakistan's side. Wasn't just restricted to the line of control. Pakistan has also opened fire along the international borders in the last 24 hours. The Indian Army says it's responded swiftly and proportionately.
एक हफ्ते से लगातार पाकिस्तान बॉर्डर पर सीज फायर का उल्लंघन कर रहा है। एक बार फिर पाकिस्तान ने बॉर्डर के इलाके में सीज फायर का उल्लंघन किया है। साउथ ऑफ पीर पंचाल और नॉर्थ ऑफ पीर पंचाल में पाकिस्तान की तरफ से सीज फायर का उल्लंघन किया गया, तो वहीं भारतीय सेना ने पाकिस्तान को मुंह तोड़ जवाब दिया है। आपको बता दें कि पिछले दिन भी पाकिस्तान के तरफ से जम्मू संभाग की 4 लोकेशंस पे और कश्मीर के 2 बारामूला और उड़ी इलाके में सीज फायर का उल्लंघन किया गया। अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सीमा प्रगवाल सेक्टर, उसके साथ अखनूर, उसके साथ नौशेरा और उसके साथ सुंदरबनी सेक्टर में पाकिस्तान की तरफ से सीज फायर का उल्लंघन किया गया था। लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल हो या फिर अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सीमा, भारतीय सेना हो या फिर बीएसएफ बेहद ज्यादा अलर्ट मोड पर हैं।
Now, on ground in Uri, the rage is palpable. Locals, of course, are very frustrated at this point. They've all come together, furious, burning effigies of Pakistan and protesting against Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, the Army General Asim Munir, and the 2611 mastermind Hafiz Saeed. Remember, it is the local population there that's also equally affected. They're really bothered with the fact that this terror continues across the border, and if anything, they're the victims. Their livelihood is taken away, their economy is busted at this point, and here are the locals who have come out to show their anger and rage against Pakistan by doing exactly that you see on our screens. Uri, where defiance echoes through the hills, people are rallying behind the Indian Army, demanding an unforgiving response. Of course, Pakistan, even for them, has crossed the line and time and again, and this is a tipping, frustrating point.
मैंने पहले ही कहा कि ये तो आज 2025 का दौर है, जब हम 1947 में तैयार थे तो आज उससे ज्यादा तैयार है।
अगर ये पाकिस्तान ने किया है, हमारी हुकूमत को ये लगता है अगर ये पाकिस्तान ने किया है तो उसके साथ 2-2 हाथ होने चाहिए।
हमारी हुकूमत हिंद कोई भी कार्रवाई करती है, हम उसके साथ शाना बिशाना खड़े, और उड़ी ने हमेशा साथ दिया है। जब भी हमारी जरूरत पड़ी फौज को या एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को, हम खड़े रहे। तो अगर कुछ भी देखो तो हम दुख तो हमें भी है, क्योंकि बदला लेना चाहिए।
All right, now let me take you through how India is really squeezing Pakistan even before the bullets fire. It's visible, it's dramatic, it's India's first act of retaliation after the Kashmir carnage. Satellite images here, very clearly accessed this week, shows the Chenab River near Pakistan's Sialkot is running dry. In fact, the riverbed now lies cracked and pale, unprecedented consequence of India suspending key provisions of the Indus Waters Treaty. That's the before-after image there, showing very clearly that Pakistan's rivers seem to be drying up because of India's squeeze. Remember, the Indus Water Treaty, which was signed in 1960 and brokered by the World Bank, gave Pakistan the rights over the western rivers, including Indus, Jhelum and Chenab. India, of course, has very limited access to those rivers, but can control the flow for storage and for hydropower. And that's exactly what India is now playing with. India hasn't built a new dam for sure. That can't happen overnight. But it's tightened control over existing infrastructure. India has slowed down water release and has stopped sharing data on these rivers with Pakistan. Technically, it's not a full violation yet, but India is testing the edges of the treaty, and it seems to be having an impact on the ground. But after 26 civilians were massacred in the terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam, Pakistan at this point has to face consequences. And this is precisely what the Modi government's move has been. The first was to pull the plug on the Indus Water Treaty, signaling that even water could be used as a weapon. India has shown that. Satellite shots there taken between April 21st to 26th confirm this fallout. The flow of Chenab has sharply diminished near Marala headworks in Sialkot. Silt and sedimentation patterns indicate water retention that's happened upstream. Pakistan has called this, of course, a grave violation and an act of war. They said blood will spill if you stop water. Here's a listen.
Pakistan vehemently rejects the Indian announcement to hold the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. The treaty is a binding international agreement brokered by World Bank and contains no provision for unilateral suspension. Water is a vital national interest of Pakistan, a lifeline for its 240 million people, and its availability will be safeguarded at all costs. Any attempt to stop or divert the flow of water belonging to Pakistan as per the Indus Water Treaty and the usurpation of the rights of lower riparian will be considered as an act of war and responded with full force across the complete spectrum of national power.
कि जो इंडस वाटर ट्रीटी है, जो मुआहिदा हुआ पाकिस्तान और भारत के दरमियान, मोदी ने और उनकी हुकूमत ने ऐलान किया कि अब वो ये मुआहिदा नहीं मानते। भारत को कहना चाहूंगा कि सिंधु हमारा है और सिंधु हमारा रहेगा। या इस दरिया से हमारा पानी बहेगा या उनका खून बहेगा।
Well, India's stance is unflinching. No country can sponsor terror and then expect rivers to flow peacefully. The Chenab is the lifeline for Pakistan's agrarian belt. A drying river could really trigger a crop crisis in Pakistan as well as power deficits, even internal unrest, and that's exactly what we see happening in Pakistan. Islamabad has reportedly reached out to the UN and the World Bank for help, asking for immediate intervention as their lake is drying up. This is the first time water is being wielded as a tool of consequence. A policy pivot, not on paper, but certainly on satellite record. And here's India building up momentum as we see our maritime muscle on full display. If I could take you through the Indian Navy that's ramped up its presence in Arabian Sea warships on high alert. In fact, missile drills are being carried out. Those are images that have come in from earlier today. Full swing, eyes locked on every move across the waterline. 4 green notifications. That's how many live firing alerts India has already issued off the Gujarat coast. Just 85 nautical miles from where Pakistan is staging its own Navy drills. Anti-ship and anti-aircraft missile firings have lit up the seas in recent days. And it's not just the Navy, the Indian Coast Guard too is deployed near the international maritime boundary, ensuring a tight security cordon there. Pakistan, meanwhile, has made some noise. They've issued 4 missile firing notices over the past week, but no action yet. Not a single launch yet. India, on the other hand, it's waiting to reach. It's already in control. We're seeing a clear domination here by India in terms of firepower and economic drills. There's enough sanction that's been imposed in many ways on Pakistan already. And this is just a statement that India is gearing up. We don't know for what and how big, how harsh, but India is certainly calibrating. A green notification, let me tell you, is a formal maritime alert issued to warn civilian vessels and aircrafts about live fire exercises that could happen within the region. This is, of course, India signaling that drills are happening. Stay clear and stay safe. And now India also taking harsh action on Pakistan by shutting its skies. India closes airspace for Pakistan in quite a bold move. So Pakistani airlines will now no more be allowed to enter Indian airspace. That's escalated pressure now on Islamabad, exactly a week after the Pahalgam attacks. Sources confirm that NOTAM, Notice to Airmen, has been officially issued, sealing Indian skies to all Pakistani aircraft. This diplomatic tit-for-tat comes even as tensions soar after the Pahalgam attack. This was possibly one of the first moves that India imposed. Of course, as we know, even Pakistan has closed its airspace for Indian aircrafts. Now across the border, we see Pakistan setting in panic. International airlines have cancelled multiple flights as well, to and from Gilgit, Pakistan, Skardu and other parts of Pakistan, along with the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir region, which is a no-fly zone now. 2 flights each from Karachi and Lahore to Skardu have been grounded, we hear. Flights from Islamabad to Skardu and Gilgit completely scrapped. Now, amid these rising tensions, we see surveillance that's been upped. And while all this said, Pakistan can't keep it together. At a time when they've got to really show a united front, we see Pakistan clearly imploding. Cracks now out in the open, and this time it was caught on camera. A dramatic face-off between Pakistan's own police, their country's state police, and the Pakistan army has now gone viral, further exposing the deep internal rot that prevails in Pakistan's security establishment. The video that's come from Lucky Marwat in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa shows Pashtun police blocking an army convoy from entering their own station. Guns drawn, voices raised, tensions boiling over. In fact, one of the officers is heard saying, and I quote, "We keep your general under our boot." This is Lucky Marwat police. You can't confront us. Stay in your limits. A fiery declaration there of defiance against the Pakistan's once feared military.
उधर कश्मीर पे जाओ ना, कश्मीर पे जाओ ना, कुछ भी नहीं कर सकते हो। कश्मीर पे जाओ ना, इधर क्या कर रहे हो? आपका जर्नल भी आ जाए फिर भी कुछ नहीं कर सकते हो। अगर वो डॉलर जर्नल भी आ जाए फिर भी वो कुछ नहीं करेगा। जर्नल भी हम आपकी बूट की नोक पे रखते हैं। बकवास करते हो, बंदूक नीचे करो। यहाँ लड़की खड़ी है, ये लड़की मोरत पुलिस है, याद रखो। ये लड़की आपकी बहादुरी का पता है। यहाँ पर लड़की खड़ी है, लड़की नहीं खड़ी। वो चौका जाए, वो
Now, remember, this public confrontation comes at a time when Pakistan is already diplomatically cornered after the Pahalgam attacks. This isn't just a one-off. Security experts say what we're seeing is basically a symptom of a larger implosion. Pakistan's armed forces no longer command the respect or the obedience that they may have once had. Their own police do not respect them, and that's clear here. A system that was once feared, fraying. And all that Pakistan can do is now to come together to sharpen their security drill, and their war room is now preparing for a strategy. And in the first move, and maybe an unprecedented one, Pakistan overnight has decided to replace its national security advisor. The existing ISI chief, Lieutenant General Asim Malik, has been now given an additional role in the first time in Pakistan's history. He will also handle national security. He is now the new national security advisor for Pakistan. The message, of course, from Pakistan is clear that military is calling the shots on both intelligence and national security. Asim Malik, who took over the ISI in September 2024, was earlier Adjutant General overseeing army protocols, legal affairs and administration. Now he's in fact been pulled into the hot seat as Pakistan braces for a fallout after Pahalgam attacks, and likely a tense situation with India has got them to make this urgent call. Of course, let me take you through something very interesting. Here's an image here that we've accessed showing Pakistan's nerves on the edge. While they ramp up their security measures, here's a wartime siren that they've put in place, a system that's been installed in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa's Bajaur district, the first of its kind in the region, which is basically a war alarm. It's aimed at issuing emergency alerts. This move screams one thing for sure, and that's panic. Pakistan putting war alarms much ahead of time. All right, Pakistan clearly gearing up for the worst. Now, that said, India seems to be showing some compassion amid this conflict. The government has now allowed Pakistani citizens stranded in India to return home via the Atari border, even after civilian movements and trade were ordered to halt from May 1st. An official order from the Home Ministry makes it clear that those holding valid travel documents and visas will not be stopped. This humanitarian exemption comes as a major relief to Pakistani nationals stuck in India and stands in sharp contrast to the sharp diplomatic freeze that India has otherwise put in place. In the middle of the hard decisions, India is, of course, this move here showing a softer heart from our end. All right, shifting our focus to the big debate. The Caste survey, the BJP announcing the Caste census with the national survey has now left a lot of the congressmen wondering what to do. In Karnataka, what really happens to Siddaramaia's 165 crore survey now? Congress made Caste census its big poll pitch. Rahul Gandhi led the charge. Siddaramaiah followed through with a full-fledged state survey that he carried out. But now the BJP has flipped the script altogether, announcing its own national caste census. Siddaramaiah welcomed the move, of course, crediting Rahul Gandhi's pressure tactics on the BJP, which eventually landed with the BJP announcing a caste census, but also questioned the BJP's timing, saying that this is done deliberately to game plan Bihar polls. He reminded how Modi once quoted Nehru to oppose caste-based quotas, and it's the same Modi who's come around to announce caste census. Now the CM's own survey hangs in balance. Siddaramaiah, remember, spent that much money to get a caste survey done for Karnataka, and what really happens to that? If this national caste survey comes about, then all of it will be overruled. BJP's R. Ashoka mocking it, the state survey basically, saying that it's now irrelevant and that much of taxpayers' money gone down the drain. H.D. Kumaraswamy of the JDS also hailing the centre's decision as more scientific, prompting a sarcastic tone from Siddaramaiah, of course. Karnataka cabinet will take a final call on May 9th on the caste survey that they've carried out and what's to be done with that. But with BJP owning this narrative now, basically flipping the coin over, Congress may be left defending its original turf.
ಜನಸಂಖ್ಯೆಗೆ ಅನುಗುಣವಾಗಿ ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಶೈಕ್ಷಣಿಕ ಸಮೀಕ್ಷೆ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ರಾಹುಲ್ ಗಾಂಧಿಯವರು ಪದೇ ಪದೇ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರಿಂದ ಒತ್ತಡಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬರೀ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟೋನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಸೇರಿಸಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನಿರ್ಣಯವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನನಗೆ ಬಹುಶಃ ನಿನ್ನೆ ಆತರವಾಗಿ ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಬಿಹಾರ್ ಚುನಾವಣೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಬಿಹಾರ್ ಚುನಾವಣೆ ದೃಷ್ಟಿನೂ ಗಮನದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟುಕೊಂಡು ಬಿಜೆಪಿಯವರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೆ.
Census report is concerned, Karnataka government welcomes it. Already my leader Shri Rahul Gandhi also has welcomed it. We want a time frame in it. The Congress party is committed to give social justice to every section of the society. Whoever may be, whatever may be, whichever caste they may be, their data should be available to the public and they also should be convinced their rights has to be established in a systematic way. Congress governments are committed to cooperate with the system.
Let me make it one thing clear. Bharatiya Janata Party was never opposed to caste census. Our point was state government did not have any authority to do the caste census. But Siddaramaiah government, in the name of socio-economic and financial survey, he was trying to divide different communities in the state of Karnataka. As far as BJP is concerned, we are pretty clear. We are very much in favor of development of all backward class community. Every backward class community has to come forward. Development has to take place.
And finally here, a story from Karnataka, my state, a musical night that turned quite tense for Sonu Nigam. In fact, one of India's most beloved voices, Sonu Nigam, was heckled mid-show in Bengaluru. A student in the crowd interrupted the concert, rudely demanding that he sing a song in Kannada. Now, Sonu Nigam, who's known to be vocal, visibly irritated with what happened, didn't let that slide. He did respond, and it was calm, but cutting at the same time. He said, and I quote, "Please see who's standing before you. If you don't understand who I am, I can't help you." This is what Sonu Nigam said. It, of course, struck a nerve, not because it was a request for a Kannada song, but because of the entitlement behind it. Remember that Sonu Nigam has a long history, celebrated for his Kannada music. He's basically been associated with Karnataka, Kannadigas, Kannada for way too long for him to be heckled. He sung some of the industry's most iconic tracks in Kannada. This wasn't about language clearly, it was about the tone. I'm going to play out exactly what happened.
I have devised a beautiful show of Kannada songs for you, but you have to allow me to do the show my way. You have to allow me to do the show. You will not decide for me when I say Kannada. I have devised a beautiful show for you. I want to give all my songs to you. You cannot be shouting over there. This is not some...
Hey, eventually Sonu Nigam did sing in Kannada, emphasizing that music knows no borders and that he does not believe in linguistic division. His message, of course, very clear: respect is non-negotiable. Now, here's some uncomfortable question. Was the student wrong to ask him to sing in Kannada? Maybe not. But the aggression was totally misplaced. In a state where artists and citizens have more often faced harassment for not speaking in Kannada, there is a larger pattern at play. It's why even well-meaning asks, like the one from that boy, can feel very loaded. In the end, of course, the night turned into melody, but this flashpoint reminded everyone of one thing, that music is certainly universal, so is dignity. Right, let me take you through news coming in from Israel. Wildfires have broken out on the outskirts of Jerusalem on April 30th. Israel calls it a national emergency. Evacuations have now been carried out, shutting down a major highway as well. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has raised an alarm, saying priority now is to defend Jerusalem, the holy place.
People drove through flames on a highway in central Israel as wildfires raged on the outskirts of Jerusalem on Wednesday. Nearby communities were forced to evacuate as Israel appealed for international help to fight the blaze. Video showed fires burning along the Route 1 highway from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv. Footage caught people abandoning their cars and running from flames as thick smoke billowed nearby. At least several people were injured, but there were no reports of fatalities. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Italy and Croatia were expected to send firefighting planes to help extinguish the flames. Israel also appealed to Greece, Cyprus, and Bulgaria, the foreign ministry said. Israeli media reported that at least 120 fire and rescue services had mobilized dozens of teams, aircraft, and helicopters to try to contain the blaze. The military said its search and rescue forces were assisting the operations. The fire broke out on Israel's Memorial Day for fallen soldiers, and many ceremonies marking the eve of its Independence Day were cancelled.
And on that note, we're slipping into a short break. We're coming back with a lot more on the other side on Deep Dive. Do stay with us. Pakistan's several celebrities have been banned in India. When I say banned, their social media platforms on Instagram, on Twitter, YouTube, all been blocked off. How does this add to the warfare at this point? Stay with us.
Smash your way to glory at the News9 Corporate Badminton Championship. Get ready for the ultimate badminton showdown. News9 presents the biggest corporate championship, a battle of skill, speed and supremacy. Cash prize of 6 lakh rupees across categories. Venue, Pulela Gopichand Badminton Academy, Hyderabad. Dates, May 9th to May 11th. A chance to showcase your talent and make a mark. The court is set. Are you ready? Register now.
Presenting sponsor, Streedhan University. Kindle the light within. Venue partner, Pulela Gopichand Badminton Academy, Hyderabad.
What a save! What a save! I need expert savings. I need my career.
Is life transactional by any chance?
Of course. Everything in the creation affects everything else.
You are not only an actor, you are an activist.
Through my cinema, I've tried to always project what I really felt.
You tried to make women look beautiful for themselves.
The message to women was, let the spotlight of your life be on you.
You are fiercely competitive in nature, but you come across as a typical good boy that every mother would like to have.
But it doesn't mean you're not raging inside, or equally euphoric.
You have donned many hats, but who is Kiran Rao?
I am a speck and I am not even a blink in time.
From being somebody to becoming nobody is the first step in enlightenment. Even now, I don't think of myself as a brand.
You still move ahead with your beliefs.
Winning the game is what's going to make this decision right.
It's a kind of a barometer that you have internally.
It was lovely talking to Barun.
It was great fun, and I think you'll find it fun to watch. I found the discussion very thought-provoking.
As befits such a conversation, one goes back with more questions and answers.
He gave me a formula which I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, which is something that you'll have to watch the show for.
Watch Radico Presents Duologue with Paruntas Season 3 at these times on News 9. News 9 English News as it should be.
As far as marketing insurance goes, it's not exactly straightforward. It's not exactly a blank canvas, so to speak, because there are, approvals and regulations and disclaimers, and how do you do that ad that can catch people's attention, but at the same time, lie within the rules and regulations?
There are some basic rules in insurance advertising and insurance product promise that you make to the consumer. One is that you can't incentivize a consumer. There is no cashback. The long-term value of a consumer is telling them, hey, if you don't have a need right now, and we are creating that need,
and we'll service
that, and then help him come back for a different product. Right. So today, if a person is buying a health insurance platform, there is a great chance, not just great chance, he's also coming for a term insurance. He's also coming for an investment product. He's also saying that, we might as well buy a car insurance. So it is that ecosystem that we have created.
Welcome back. Now, India is not yet firing missiles, but here's what India is doing very strategically. India's new offensive, cutting through screens. This is quite but loud. How do I say it? The best of celebrities from Pakistan have now been phased out in India. Hania Amir, Pakistan's sweetheart. She has a huge fan base in India. She has no account now anymore that's visible to Indians. Her account has been blocked on our soil. That's Hania. She in fact called out her own military, but she's a popular Pakistani face, and that's enough. She no more has an account that's open in India. And apart from Hania, there are also people like Shahid Afridi, who's been, of course, siding with the Pakistani regime, and he's been trivializing India's anger. Shahid Afridi, Imran, Riaz Khan, Taimur Rahman, voices close to the Pakistani establishment now are off the Indian grid. Their accounts have been blocked. Very interestingly though, there are some faces, very popular ones, who still have their accounts open, and that's Fawad Khan, Atif Aslam and Mahira Khan. Surprisingly, their accounts remain untouched for now. Right now, India was Pakistan's largest digital audience. We know that's quietly slipping away, with India blocking off one platform at a time. Pakistani creators, of course, at this point are going to be very upset because there's a huge fan following and an audience that comes from India for Pakistan, OTT, their serials, their music and whatnot. India and Pakistan, as much as we in fact had that animosity between the two countries for years, we still saw that kind of cultural overlap and a lot of content that was consumed on both sides, much more from the Pakistani side of Indian content. And I would certainly say that Indian audience also consumed a lot of Pakistani content, like their serials, some of the music, and a few stars that I showed you were favorites in India. This cultural pipeline though between the two countries have been snapped. And let me tell you, it's not just Pakistani content or content creators or their celebrities, it's also cricket. India's dominance means Pakistan stays out of the spotlight. No matches with Pakistan anymore, no collaborations with Pakistan, no seat at the table for Pakistan. In fact, Pakistan has already sounded a panic button that India may influence the International Cricket Council to limit funding to Pakistan because of the weightage of the BCCI. Let's listen in to Ramiz Raza, what he said.
पाकिस्तान क्रिकेट बोर्ड आईसीसी की फंडिंग पे 50% चलता है और आईसीसी फंडिंग ये होती है कि वो टूर्नामेंट्स कराते हैं और उसके जो पैसे हैं वो अपने मेंबर बोर्ड्स में बांट देते हैं और वो जो आईसीसी की फंडिंग है वो 90% इंडियन मार्केट से आती है। सो हमें एक तरह से इंडिया के बिजनेस हाउसेस पाकिस्तान क्रिकेट को चला रहे हैं और कल को अगर इंडियन प्राइम मिनिस्टर ये सोच लेती कि हम पाकिस्तान को फंडिंग नहीं देंगे तो ये क्रिकेट बोर्ड जो है ये कोलैप्स भी हो सकता है.
Well, that's a clear message from Pakistan that they are worried that BCCI may just influence ICC to cut funding. Well, we know that India isn't reacting emotionally here. It's responding very strategically. One block, one ban, one border at a time. No drama, just decisive pressure. And there you have it, all accounts being blocked of Pakistan. How does this really add to this whole build-up? Let me bring in Ambassador Jayant Dasgupta, former ambassador to WTO. Thank you very much, sir, for speaking to News9. Give us your take on how disabling access to digital platforms for Pakistani influencers, actors, their big public figures will really have an impact on national security or information warfare.
It may not really influence national security, but it will have an impact in terms of building up public pressure, because the public will also realize, in Pakistan especially, that things cannot go on as a matter of routine, as if the killings in Pahalgam were just, by the way. So things have changed, and the relationship barometer shows that it is at one of its lowest points now in many, many years. And the public has already, I think, realized that the army, for instance, when there was this popular upsurge when Imran Khan was arrested a couple of years ago, that the public went on rampage. Most of them, of course, were later on identified as his supporters. But there was a groundswell of support against the army in particular. And the army, I think, hit back very hard, and it is trying to establish its legitimacy. And this warfare, the cultural warfare that you are mentioning, the digital warfare, this all will build pressure on the army, because the public will realize that it is the army's doing, that they are kind of a rogue deep state which does much as it pleases, despite there being international treaties and a certain agreement which has been reached in the past. The LOC, for instance, has been inviolate, but for some Pakistani incursions here and there. And of course, there used to be border meetings. But now Pakistan has said that it doesn't even agree to the 1972 Shimla agreement.
Yeah.
So all these things add up, and that is why it needs to be put across to the Pakistani citizens that the army is leading them astray. It is a kind of a parasite which is feeding on the Pakistani people's money and aggrandizing itself. And in order to show its worth, it is attacking innocent Indian civilians even. And let's not forget what happened in Mumbai when 166 people were killed. So this is the kind of thing. Yes.
Would you believe this is psychological, more to do with a psychological strategy to say and condemn in every way? But does this happen in coordination with the military intelligence? Or is this a sole government move which is basically symbolic, that we don't approve of you or any one of you?
The first point is that it is indeed a part of psychological warfare. It is indeed so. And two, that intelligence inputs are obtained from various sources. Military intelligence, of course, would be one. Our intelligence agencies which are, operating in the international arena would be another one. Then the third one, let us not forget, these intelligence agencies rely heavily on cyber intelligence, the kind of social media messages which are being exchanged, the terrorists, the kind of messages they were exchanging with their handlers, etc., etc. So all this would have been factored in. And the kind of undercurrent which is now, showing up in Pakistani social media, of course, as you mentioned, that some of these voices have been immediately quietened, and in fact, their posts deleted, or their, whatever they said in public has been retracted. But it goes to show that there is widespread dissatisfaction with the way the army has been behaving. And in particular,
but that said, when you say that there's been widespread dissatisfaction, of course, Hania is one of those who's basically called out the Pakistan military, but we haven't really seen a large backlash from the creative, artistic community of Pakistan, the elite, the affluent, the soft power of Pakistan, as we call it, that basically comprises of all the top celebrities, haven't really outrightly condemned Pakistan's military or the fact that they could be harboring terror. Why are they in denial? Is it because of they being worried of their own safety? Because who's safe in Pakistan?
Well, if I may put it rather bluntly, there is a martial law in force in Pakistan, whether we accept it, whether the Pakistanis accept it or not. The second thing is the judiciary has been completely compromised, browbeaten, and bulldozed into passing orders which the army wants it to pass. So, individual freedom is one of the first victims to fall by the wayside, and people are really mortally scared that if they fall out of line in the eyes of the army, there will be no redress. They may land up in jail. They may just disappear. That has happened to many journalists also in Pakistan in the past. So I think it is basically not a free society at all. But whatever murmurs of dissatisfaction have arisen, have surfaced, they may have been quelled very quickly. But it shows that it is there and it is rearing its head, and it may gain momentum.
So, one thing's for sure, we haven't seen any one of them outrightly condemning what happened. That humanity comes first, more than patriotism at that point, right? Well, that said, now they no more have access to the Indian population. Their accounts in India have been suspended. Would you want to say a word on how few of the accounts have been retained? Why have they been retained? I'm sure you may not be privy to the military or the government's decisions, but some accounts like Fawad Khan, Mahira Khan, Atif Aslam, they're hugely popular names in India. Their accounts are still open.
Well, I wouldn't like to hazard a guess, but from what little exposure I have had to the film world and to the artists, Atif Aslam is perhaps the most well-known modern day singer of Pakistan who's appreciated in India, and Mahira Khan has featured in many films which are blockbusters.
And so has Fawad
Khan. And Hania, of course, is a very good artist, but I don't think that she is all that well known in India.
Okay, so you're saying the well known ones are saved, the lesser known ones are out.
There may be a deeper reason also, of course, which I am not privy to.
I totally reckon with what you've said, the reason can't be anything beyond what you've said. That this is a message being sent out that nothing from Pakistan at this point is tolerated. Right, and snapping these accounts that may be sympathetic to their own regime is possibly the first move forward, showing how India is resentful of Pakistan at this point. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for joining us.
Pleasure.
All right, a quick break. We'll be right back with more on a story from Kerala on how the court says that gold that has been given to a woman at the time of marriage is her right entirely. Stay with us.
News9 Corporate Badminton Championships in collaboration with Pullela Gopichand Badminton Foundation is here for all of you to experience the passion and network. This is a great opportunity to experience your childhood memories and also be part of a corporate event which enhances sportsman spirit in all of us. Wishing you all the best and hope to see you here.
Presenting sponsor, Srinidhi University. Kindle the light within. Venue partner, Pullila Gopichand Badminton Academy, Hyderabad.
Coffee?
I am Idea Cool. ये एयर कंडीशनर नहीं, AI कंडीशनर है.
Welcome back. A very interesting story that's coming out of Kerala, possibly progressive and maybe a precedent set. Justices Diwan Ramachandran and M.B. Snehalata in Kerala have reaffirmed an age-old right. Cash and gold given to a woman during marriage is her Streedhan and it belongs only to her, no one else. This is what the judges have ruled in Kerala. The case in question here is a woman who claimed that her husband withheld 65 sovereigns of gold, which was her rightful possession from the time of their marriage. He never allowed her to touch it. But here's the catch. How do you prove ownership when most of these exchanges are informal, undocumented? Who gave who how much? How much is mine, how much is yours? The court leaned on the preponderance of probability, a legal principle where the most believed version wins. So you don't need 100% certainty here, you just a stronger case. The court has accepted her claim for gold but rejected her plea for household articles as she couldn't really establish misappropriation. Basically, the court has said that you have all the right for the gold that you have got during your wedding, but any of the household articles are not yours because you can't prove that it's yours. The larger conversation here, of course, marriage is a union of two families, but when it falls apart, who takes what? Streedhan, originally a protective cushion for a woman, predates inheritance laws that now ensures daughters have a right to family property. So does Streedhan still need to be hers alone, or should it be shared? In the spirit of equality, should it also be equally the husband's right to have an equal amount of the gold that the bride has received from all over? We also know who's left more vulnerable after a split, and that's often the woman. So what happens here? Is this rule that was announced by the Kerala High Court really something that was needed in time? Joining me right here to give us a little more is Rekha Agarwal, advocate, Supreme Court and women's rights activist. We also have Barka Trehan, activist and president of Prayush Ayog. Thank you very much, both of you. Rekha, your take on this judgment. Is it a win for women or just a legal technicality?
I think there's nothing new, honestly speaking, when I heard about this judgment and I was invited to participate in your show today. I found nothing new because this concept of the word Streedhan, it itself means means a woman and dhan means property. So there was a time when women were not entitled to any property. They were not considered as equal partners in society as compared to their male spouses. But in 1956, the law was made very clear that women have an absolute right over the property, which may be movable or immovable. It may be gold, it may be jewelry, it may be even be a plot of land. It may even be, it may even be cattle. So anything that she gets in the form of Streedhan at the time of a marriage, before a marriage or after a marriage, during various ceremonies, is her absolute property, because that was the only form of securing her life, in case of any misfortune that happened. Maybe her husband passes away, maybe, there's a divorce between the parties. So where does the hapless woman go, especially at a time when women were not working? So this concept of Streedhan was laid down in the Hindu Succession Act way back in 1956. This is different from dowry. Streedhan is not dowry. Streedhan is something which has been given voluntarily by the girl's family to their daughter at their time of marriage. It may even be gifts which are given by the husband's side voluntarily. to the wife to the woman who's going to be the bride and come as a daughter-in-law of the family. So what is given to the wife as Streedhan is her absolute right. She can keep it for her, for her rainy days. She can sell it. She can alienate it. She can do whatever it wants. Even if a divorce takes place under Section 27 of the Hindu Divorce Act, it is made very clear that Streedhan is hers. That cannot be compromised with. So I would say that this judgment of the Kerala High Court that we're discussing is nothing really new. It has only vindicated the stand of the various judgments which are there in the past. Particularly, there was a judgment of the Punjab and Haryana High Court some time ago, which was called Pratibha Rani versus Suresh Kumar, in which it was differentiated that Streedhan belongs to a woman. Now, of course, it is very debatable whether these gifts were given by the girl's side, jointly, or whether it was given, unilaterally to the girl. It may be a case where the girl's relatives or the girl's parents want to give a particular amount of jewelry. Maybe it is gold sovereigns, maybe it is jewelry, anything at all, only to their daughter as a form of security, as a form of Streedhan. It may not be a joint property. Sometimes it may be as a gift, which is given jointly to the couple so that they can start a happy married life. For it may be furniture, it may be a house, it may be any other property, it may even be cash or gold. So now the Kerala High Court has rightly said that it cannot be decided. It will depend upon what I say against what you say. That if the girl who has to prove that yes, this belongs only to me, this is not what is being given to my husband, this is my own property, this is my Streedhan, I'm a woman, I'm entitled to it, I'm entitled to keep it, I'm entitled to alienate it, I'm entitled to whatever I want. So I think that this judgment is nothing new. And a Streedhan is always under Hindu law. In fact, if we go back to our...
But when you say, ma'am, there's nothing new here, we know of the number of modern day marriages. Despite it being modern marriages, you have, during the time of separation, the boy's family often saying that we gave you that gold, so it belongs to us.
Yes, so
they claim that.
That's a matter of debate. As the Honorable High Court rightly said, it will depend upon the evidence. Now, in this case, I think that the girl... the wife has been able to prove that the gold articles, I think it is gold sovereigns, were given to her singularly, unilaterally. It was her property, it was her dhan, it was her security. But she was not able to prove about the other properties. So as far as the other properties are concerned, it may be furniture or any other property.
No, but does that also include the gold that's given to her from the husband's side?
Yes. In fact, Streedhan means the articles of jewelry which may be given by both the sides, not only by the woman's side, but even her husband's side. So that is something that once the woman receives it at the time of the marriage, supposing her husband and her in-laws have gifted her a particular jewelry item, that becomes her Streedhan. Even if there's a divorce, even if the parties are warring or they may not be warring, she decides to keep that jewelry which has been gifted by her husband in her locker, in her individual locker, under her lock and key, and her husband cannot operate it, so be it. Once it is gifted to her, it is a Streedhan to help
and
her
now,
tide over the rainy days.
Based on this judgment, a woman can fight her way if she's not accessing her gold.
Yes,
even if it's given by the husband's side. Now,
Yes,
Barka might have a very interesting opinion on that.
Yes.
Barka, I'd like to get you in on this. Should Streedhan be treated differently in modern day marriages? What happens to equality here? Equality in sharing gifts.
Exactly. So I would like to start with Streedhan is her legal right. No dispute is over there. But let's not forget marriages between two people. And many gifts are for the couple. See, the couple is gifted. It's not that only the bride is gifted. And we should accept these days because these are modern marriages. Times have changed, so must the law. Women now inherit property. Streedhan was once her only security. Now it is not like that. There is many more things are added to that now. Equality can't be selective. Just now you only asked about equality. It cannot be selective. If woman keeps Streedhan, then alimony and inheritance, where does that leave the man? Where does the husband stand? No security, no protection, only liabilities for the husband. These are the modern marriages and times have changed. So should we also change in our discussions also. We should include this, and let's talk about fairness, not just tradition, not just which has been happening since ages. Justice must be gender neutral. Assets, I think, responsibilities and support should depend on the need, not on the gender. Courts must also think about protecting both sides. See, the courts have always tried to protect the woman. What about the man? They should think about the man also, and they should protect both sides.
Courts are gender neutral, but it's more often than not the woman who's at the receiving end in most cases of such nature. So you can expect a lopsided approach.
But male voices matter too, and we should hear them. And courts are not gender neutral at all. They are very biased, and all the judgments are tilted towards the women only. The day the courts will stop being biased, things will change, and these suicides will fall down.
Rekha, a 20-second rebuttal, and I will close as I'm short on time. Rekha, your response.
I don't agree with what Varka is saying. Whatever is being given to the wife, to the daughter, or to the daughter-in-law, for example, jewelry, that is exclusively hers. As far as other articles are concerned, Varka was just speaking about equality. Equality, of course, equality in other things has to be maintained. But for example, she's talking about a man's security. The man doesn't need any security as far as movable and immovable articles are concerned. Whatever the husband owns in his own name is his own property. Whatever is his ancestral property is his ancestral property. So where is the tug of war between the husband and wife? Whatever is the joint property, for example, if there's some furniture or there's for example, there's some white goods, a fridge or a TV, etc., which have been given to the daughter at the time of marriage, it may be considered under the particular circumstances to be joint property, to be used jointly by the couple. But as far as more valuable articles, particularly jewelry is concerned, that remains the Streedhan. That cannot be assumed to be a joint property where the husband has an equal share.
Right. All right. Very interesting, both of you, with your viewpoints, joining us right here on Unmissable. Thanks very much. On that note, I'm going to wrap the show right here. Have a great night. We'll be right here, same time tomorrow.
Light, camera, and action. Kick back, relax, grab your favorite snack because News9 is here with your weekend dose of entertainment. It's time to take a deeper dive into the buzzworthy happenings of the entertainment world. From celebrity gossips to exclusive conversations, from nostalgic moments to News9's pick of the week, don't worry, we've got you covered here. And I hope you've grabbed your popcorn by now because News9's page 3 is here to serve you everything that we call entertainment. So do stay tuned every Saturday and Sunday, 2:30 p.m. Light, camera, and action. Kick back, relax, grab your favorite snack because News9 is here with your weekend dose of entertainment. It's time to take a deeper dive into the buzzworthy happenings of the entertainment world. From celebrity gossips to exclusive conversations, from nostalgic moments to News9's pick of the week, don't worry, we've got you covered here. And I hope you've grabbed your popcorn by now.